So this fort was built originally 1833 to 1849, the first one. This is all rebuilt.
Oh, okay.
We rebuilt it in 1975. So it's made out of adobe. You see how thick the walls are because there's adobe blocks in there. They use the clay and sand from the river, and they would mix it with water and to these molds, and they would take the mold off and dry it in the sun for days, and then they'd have blocks. And then they would plaster over the outside to protect it from the weather. And you have to keep, every year you have to repair. We have all kinds of damage just from the last couple months, like that fireplace, that wall. Certain facings gets more of the storms than others, and we have to constantly repair it. But it's cool. In the summer, it's actually cooler in here if you close the doors. The temperature's nice because the walls are so thick. And in the winter, we have about 20 fireplaces in almost all the rooms except for the warehouses. And you light the fire, and once the walls get hot, it reflects the heat back on you, and it's so cozy. But think about all the wood would be burned for cooking and heating in a short period of time. And so there were all kinds of nationalities here. So William Bent was one of the owners, along with a brother Charles and George, and a partner Saron St. Vrain. They came out of Missouri. They were traders. We're right on the Santa Fe Trail. Took 50 days in a wagon to get here.
There you go. Now you know.
Yep. Across all that stretch of Kansas.
Yeah. And so it was a long trip. And they would come here, and the traders would bring goods from around the world. And the people who would come here would, most of them, be Native American. They would be, William Bent married into the Southern Cheyenne, so they were the predominant. Arapaho, Kiowa, Comanche, Ute, a lot of different tribes. We're right on the border in 1830s with another country right across the river in the trees. What country do you think that would be?
Madison.
It's still a country to our south, but it's a lot further south now.
Yeah. What country? Where are we going in a few days?
They speak Spanish. Yeah.
Mexico!
So they built the fort, and they stayed, some of them, as laborers and adobe workers. And so we had Spanish spoken here for sure. A lot of different Native American languages. We had English. A lot of the trappers spoke French. So how would you communicate with all these different languages?
You learn it?
You could learn it. That might be tough, but a lot of people did learn. You could use a trade sign language. So what would this mean? What animal might that remind you of that has horns?
Buffalo?
Yes, and that's what we're trading in. So buffalo. And horse.
Oh.
Person riding a horse. And drinking water. So, and some of those are in your self-guided booklet there. So they had their own trade sign language. And so what you would be bringing in were buffalo robes. You would have to follow the buffalo herds and hunt them. And then the woman would have to strap this down and scrape off every little piece of meat. And she would use the brains of the bison, it has chemicals in it, and tan this. And it would take about 10 days just to tan it.
So it's basically like a slower way to make a carpet, in a way.
And they would use them back east as lap blankets. So think about the time period, mid-1800s. They didn't have cars. So horse-drawn carriages, sleighs, and you got cold. So these were lap blankets. And some years they were going through 15,000 bison robes a year coming through here. And then they needed to take them back to Missouri. So to take them back, your wagon's not gigantic, so you have a press in the middle. It's a fur press. It's not a well or anything. The well is inside of a room. This is a fur press. So you put the bison robe in there, and it has a crank, and it lowers the boom on top, and it squeezes.
It makes it smaller.
It makes it smaller. Kind of like vacuum packing.
I was going to say like the vacuum seal bag.
And you had canvas and rope, and you would cinch it tight before it expands again. And then you have bundles. We have a white one over there on the wall there, labeled. And you could fit more in your wagon. because you're going 50 days or more back to Missouri.
Huh.
And you try to double your money. So you get $3 in 1833 money for this, and they try to get 5 or 6. Now in today's money, $3 doesn't sound like much, but that'd be about 110. So let's look at some of the things that you could get for your $3. Let's see. Let's see what you think. Okay, how much would you pay for a hank of beads?
Normally maybe like around $1, maybe $2.
Let me tell you more about them. These come from Italy. They're glass. It takes 4 people to make the colors in one bead. 4 people to make to wind the colors in one bead. Some are from Czechoslovakia. Now, how much would you pay?
Maybe around $1,000, $2,000.
One robe. One buffalo robe for hank of beads.
Okay.
Okay. Abalone, a shell from the Pacific Ocean, you can cut up and make earrings, conches, all kinds of stuff. You can't get much more beautiful than that. How many buffalo robes?
2.
3.
3.
Okay. A gun, a long gun. How many buffalo robes?
4.
5.
4
10
or
to
5.
12.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
my gosh, that's expensive.
So yeah, you're going to have to do a lot of hunting to get everything you want here. But we can try to convince you you need a lot of stuff. Like, bad habit, but they've got tobacco. They had it all kinds of forms. They had a young lady you might want to make some clothing out of some cloth from France or England, so you don't look like everyone else in your group wearing leather. You can have your own pattern. Silk from China. Tea from China. How about some sugar? You've never had sugar before. I might give you some for free. Now you're going to want some sugar. Where is Havana?
Cuba.
I don't remember.
Cuba. Pretty far away.
Very far away.
Where does coffee come from?
It comes from. I know what it's like. Colombia?
Central and South America.
Oh.
So really far. Blankets. So instead of everyone having a brown buffalo robes, look at all these colors you could get in your teepee. Don't you need this? Depending on the size, 2 to 4 buffalo robes for a wool blanket. They stay very warm even when they're wet. You can cut them up and make them into all kinds of things. You've got to have a blanket from England. So yeah, just lots of different things. I don't know if it's still on the desk in there, but we had a buffalo stomach in the big trade room on the desk. They would cook in them. They're this big.
Oh, so like a pot.
Yeah, and you can't put them over the fire, so you have to heat up rocks and put it inside to heat up the soup and stew, whatever you're cooking in there, and you have to keep doing it.
I
A
didn't know
lot of
buffalo
work,
stomach.
a lot of time. Now, would you like a pot to cook in instead? You can carry it if you drop it. It doesn't break like ceramics. Okay, a gallon will cost you 1 buffalo robe. 2 gallons, 2 robes.
Expensive. No.
Yes.
Never mind.
So, now think about it. We're making your life more comfortable, more beautiful. You might like your life that way. But you're coming here, you're around people you've never been around before, and some of them have diseases. You might get cholera, which is spread from sewage leaking into water sources. They thought it was air, so they didn't understand it, so they never fixed the problem. You could die. You can make people sick from whooping cough, smallpox, when you go back to your group. So it has consequences. And think about, you're used to living off the land. You're not used to being dependent on anybody. You can survive yourself. You can stay in one place longer. You're not having to follow buffalo herds as often. But because you want all this stuff, you're dependent on white man's goods. You're doing a lot more hunting. You're moving a lot more. You might not be teaching your young the traditional skills. It changes you very, very quickly. Is it good or is it bad? Or is it a mixture?
I feel like it would be a mixture because you'd probably like be able to like get better stuff here, but at the risk of a disease or like something like that.
I don't like being dependent on people.
Well, look at the trade-off now. Like when COVID happened, we're used to just, you have toilet paper, you have all this stuff, right? But then COVID happened,
People
and
were hoarding.
production stopped, and then people didn't know how to, like, I mean, we had to,
They didn't know how to share.
Yeah, they
they
didn't
didn't know how to share. we had to go back to gardening.
Yeah, exactly.
We had to go back to baking bread.
Becoming more dependent and learning how to do that. Learning how to do those skills if you didn't know.
But you come very, but then it kind of hinders you. That we were in.
It wraps around.
You don't see the kitties.
I heard them back that way.
Where?
Cross.
Kids are open. Woodworking, look.
Mm-hmm.
There's no wagon here. You have to get me.
I have to get somebody.
Well, not me.
You know, you're doing most of the shots anyway.
Oh, thanks. I can't show anybody.
Huh?
Is this more that alleyway?
Yeah, I think so.
They stir their rations because it's cooler. Right there.
Yeah, it is.
Lanterns in there, but what is this? Well, we're bad. You locked them in there?
I don't know.
Read on here, but I don't have enough pants to open it up. Mm-hmm. But bet you so. I'll look at it. There are those white packs that she was talking about that they could mash them down into, see?
Mm-hmm.
They put the poundage on there. Huh. Huh. Oh, there's their well.
Okay.
Down here, see there's steps leading down to it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's pretty neat.